Thousands of rally fans trekking through the forests of mid-Wales to watch the first stages of the Network Q RAC Rally. Over the first 2 days, the event's been dominated by 3 stories: the appalling weather, the spectacular loss of so many top drivers, and Armin Schwarz, the German who's led from the very start. Yes, hello and welcome to Rally Headquarters live in Chester for last day highlights from the Network Q RAC Rally. Once again, I'm joined in the studio by former British champion Malcolm Wilson, who'll be casting an expert eye over proceedings. But first, at the start of today, the leaderboard looked like this. Schwarz still comfortably ahead of Japan's Masao Kamioka, Blomqvist and Sibera strongly placed to win the F2 World Championship honours for Skoda. Maxman Mark Higgins showing as Britain's best. With the first of today's stages cancelled due to heavy snow, the cars still had 9 to go, starting, as Ivan Gaskell reports, with the run through Sweet Lamb, Hafren.
Out of the darkness and into the light, Hafren Forest in mid-Wales, Armin Schwarz continues to blaze a trail towards victory. Masao Kamioka seemed content to settle for second spot. He dropped almost a minute and a half further back on the opening 24-mile stage. Stig Blomqvist was looking to cement third place and steer Skoda towards the Formula 2 World crown. He began steadily enough. His teammate Pavel Sibera was trying to close the gap, second fastest through the Sweet Lamb stage, only 2 seconds slower than the leader Schwarz. Renault's sole survivor Gregoire de Mévius, the Belgium now up to 5th. Jeremy Eason was still carrying British hopes, off to a slow start on the final day though. For the All England sister crew, Stephanie and Rachel Simonite, the story ended with a bitter Sweet Lamb experience. For them it would be over and out.
7. Are you all right? Yep. Cut off.
And the end of the line too for Grand Prix driver Martin Brundle. After battling through snow and ice, Brundle's rally baptism came to a fiery finish.
This is it, danger, really bad ice.
The turbos run at 700-800 degrees centigrade. There's a bit of oil floating around in the turbo, and it tends to catch fire. It sort of looked rather more dramatic than it was. It was a silly incident in many ways, but I've realised in rallying as a new boy that a lot of those can happen. It seems so tame. You get on some loose stuff on the outside of the stage, and suddenly you're heading towards the scene of the accident, and there's nothing you can do about it.
8 AM and the leaders reached the service area at Aberystwyth, reporting no real dramas.
The only problem we had was a steamy windscreen. I mean, it was steaming up after a big water hole, and otherwise everything was fine.
While routine for Toyota, Aberystwyth meant bodywork repairs for Seat's Harry Rovanpera. Over in the Kamioka camp, meanwhile, it appeared language difficulties were the only problem.
How do you understand what Kevin says to you in English?
Yes.
In the forests, the two-legged spectators sensed that 2 battles had developed. Schwarz and Denis Giraudet were running away with the rally, and without the snow of the previous 2 days, normal service had been resumed.
3 long minus. Immediate, there's 2 to 3 short open.
Kamioka, whatever communication problems he was having, was still second in the Subaru. Unless Schwarz had problems, it looked as though second place would be Kamioka's reward for a terrific drive. Stig Blomqvist's great run was continuing. The Formula 2 World Championship seemed Skoda's for the taking, thanks in the main to Stig and Benny Melander, who'd been third since the end of day 1 and were enjoying the Welsh stages. Skoda's plans began to go wrong on stage 21, however. Pavel Sibera had been in 4th place going into the stage, but the engine surrendered with a broken conrod, and his rally was over shortly after these pictures were taken. That meant that F2 was once again wide open. With Skoda's domination at last broken, Gregoire de Mavius was now the second of the championship contenders. His Renault Maxi Megane was fourth after stage 21. But the team which benefited most from Skoda's misfortune was Seat, who came to the RAC leading the series. They now led once again, with both Harry Rovanpera and Erwin Weber in the top 10. Belgium's Bernard Munster was back in 18th place, but Sibera's retirement meant that he was now the second Skoda driver behind Blomqvist. It was unlikely, but if he could hang on and the others, particularly Seat, had problems, Skoda could still take the world title. Nissan, of course, aren't in the running for the F2 crown, but at least Mark Higgins in 5th place was the leading British driver.
After 22 stages, Stig Blomqvist now showing as the lone Skoda. Mark Higgins up 2 places to leapfrog over Jeremy Eason. Don Buckley from Kelso showing up in the top 8 for the first time. Well done to him. Bit of a crash there. I thought we'd seen our best crashes yesterday, but no. Martin wanted to get in on the act.
Yeah, 2 of the Seminites and Martin. But I mean, what do you say about Martin Brundle? I mean, really, you know, the co-driver told him danger, bad ice, very slippery, and he still goes and crashes. I mean, stick to racing, Martin, please.
He's obviously not used to have somebody else in the car there.
Gosh, no. But
it was a bit dangerous because obviously with the car going on fire, that's not that doesn't happen that often, does it? Really, cars going on fire after crashes.
No, I think it was probably just a bit of oil around the turbochargers. As Martin explained, you know, the turbo was very hot and coming to a sudden stop like that, and he probably did fracture an oil pipe or something like that. But yeah, it probably looked a lot worse than it was, but it was quite a sudden stop, wasn't it?
Would you like to see any other Formula 1 drivers having a go?
Nah, let them stick to going round and round the circuit, then they know where they're going then.
I'll stop you now before there's a fight somewhere. So far we've looked at many of the leading competitors in Wales today, but how were some of the other top cars performing? Bob Constandurous reports.
Jeremy Eason, a great 6th overall, was winning Group N driver and winning amateur for the 2nd year running, beating Don Buckley by just 1 place in each category. Nigel Warswick started the day in 10th, but on the very last stage lost a top 10 placing by just 1 tiny second. Jeff Jones led Group A up to 1300cc from start to finish, making full use of his prize of a Nissan Micra drive after winning this year's Micra Challenge. He and Finland's Tony Gardemeister, 16th overall, ensured the team trophy went to Nissan. Bernd Kollivold was Norway's sole representative, but he led the Group N up to 2-litre class all the way in his Peugeot 309. Cleveland's Mark Burden took over the lead of the Group N up to 1300cc class at mid-rally in his Peugeot 106. While Charlie Exton was just as dominant in the Group N up to 1600cc class in his Honda Civic, now with his rear window back in place. Ladies' prize winners were Andrea Hall and Sue Mi after a fine run in the Mitsubishi Galant, which they took over at short notice before the event. There won't be much of this drunk tonight by BBC Grand Prix commentators Tony Jardine and Maurice Hamilton, who won the Fleet Street Award in their Escort Cosworth. In the BBC Battle of the Skodas, video engineer Dave Jennings just failed to beat presenter colleague Tiffany Dell.
Give him his moment of glory. I knew this would happen to him. Just keep it steady. Into turn left 9. Into right 9. Tightens to 6.
Left 5 long one.
Tightens to 6. Don't wave.
Meanwhile, Mark Higgins rounded off his rally in style. A storming late burst made him 4th and the best of the British. With brother David 17th, it was truly a day of Higgins' family fortune. Stig was still going strong too. Although Skoda had seen the world title slip away, Blomqvist struck a note for the old school, 3rd overall and victory in Formula 2. Japan's Masao Kamioka and British co-driver Kevin Gormley mastered both conditions and communication for a splendid 2nd place. But no one was able to match this man. In his final outing with Toyota, Armin Schwartz roared home to claim victory by almost 8 minutes. Schwartz, with French co-driver Denis Giraudet, had led from the very first stage of the event. The first German ever to win the RAC Rally, the unflappable Schwartz took it all in his stride.
Congratulations, Armin.
Thank you, Tony.
Now, how does it feel to have won this RAC, one of the toughest ever?
I mean, very, very good. I mean, it makes much more than the European Championship, and especially when we came here, we said we want to win this event, and I think we make it clear right from the beginning what we want. And we have not one tent on the car, so very, very good.
You've done a few RAC rallies, 25 years. How did this one compare?
No, okay, it's one of the worst, I think. But okay, we have had a few between 71 and now, so. But it has been, okay, up in Kiel there was, I think, the worst I've been, because every meter was covered with snow and ice, and that I've never seen before, I think.
Seat are on top of the world tonight, World Formula 2 champions, and celebrations for the top Briton too.
It's fantastic. I mean, after the way the first day went, you know, all I wanted to do was sort of get home. We dropped 8 minutes, and you know, normally on a rally you drop sort of 8 seconds, and in F2 it's hard to get it back, but we've really fought hard the last couple of days, and to end up where we are, over the moon. Great end to the year.
And of course, you were driving really quickly today. You got a very fast time on one stage. You beat everybody else.
I think we have on the last 4, I think now. So we had to go very hard to keep ahead of Gregoire when he had his problem, and then just kept attacking through the day. But that way it kept the concentration and kept me awake as well.
But for the Toyota team tonight, a fond farewell to 1996 RAC champion Armin Schwartz.
So after driving more than 1,100 miles around Britain's roads to compete over another 250 miles of torturous stages, this is the final overall picture. Armin Schwartz and Denis Giraudet almost 8 minutes ahead of Kamioka, with Blomqvist third. A great boost to Mark Higgins' career with that gritty 4th place. Jeremy Eason beating Dom Buckley to the Group N title, and 6 different manufacturers filling the top 6 places. In the race for honours amongst the 2-wheel drive Formula 2 cars, Stig Blomqvist led the way, but as we've seen, he couldn't single-handedly stop Seat with their 2 finishers in the top 8, clinching the World F2 Championship. By finishing third, Gregoire de Mavis ensured that Renault finished runners-up, with Skoda back in third.
So, Armin Schwartz, having already received the hugs of congratulations from his teammates, returned here to Chester to savour the acclaim of the many rally fans who turned up for his victory celebrations.
He's a happy man.
He certainly is. He's not the only one, actually. I'm quite happy as well, because you know, he's driving for Ford next year, and we've got the added bonus now that you know, he will be starting next year's RAC Rally with the #1 on the door.
So get those pictures taken quickly.
Absolutely.
Did you think he was going to win from the start?
Well, I think everybody knew it was between sort of 4 or 5 drivers right from the word go, but once we lost all the leading Finns after very early on, really Armin just he could play the rally at his own game, really. And he's just drove exceptionally well. As he said, he hasn't put a mark on the car, and once the Finns had gone, he didn't have a lot of pressure, but in the sense of people breathing down his neck. But
so it's
with those conditions,
for him, then?
Well, but with those conditions, it wasn't easy for anybody.
Okay, and a big surprise in second place with Kamioka.
Yeah, I mean, a big surprise. I mean, it's his best result to date. I mean, he's been doing world events, he's been building up the experience, and I think Kevin Gormley will have helped him immensely on this event, because he's done lots of rallies that have probably been like this. But a super result for him.
And my favourite, Stig, he couldn't get there to first place, but what a guy, 50 years old in third place. I mean that's something after, what, 25 years since he won his first rally.
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable, really. I mean, I just don't know how he does it. I've got to be honest, I don't know how he does it. I mean, the conditions have definitely helped him, there's no question about that. But even so, to go and put that sort of performance in those conditions, I mean, it is a remarkable result, and I think for Skoda, they must be absolutely delighted.
Although disappointed not to win the championship.
Yeah, but I think they'll be disappointed about that. But I think to finish third overall on a World Championship event is something that they'll be very, very happy about tonight.
So you can't beat experience?
Well, certainly when the conditions are like this, and especially somebody like Stig, who's has been brought up on snow all his life, I mean, it does make a big difference.
You maybe shouldn't have retired. And how about Mark coming in there, top place Brit, 4th place? He must be pleased, and a good result for Britain rallying as well. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously drove very well today. He's really put on the pressure, and he's got into, well, I suppose where he wanted to be, leading Brit. I think he would obviously been a lot happier if he could have just managed to pip Stig. But having said all that, with his problems on the first day, he's done exceptionally well, and I'm really pleased for him and for Phil Mills, who's been working for me this year, and he's going full-time next year, so I think the future looks bright for the pair of them. You're going to have some team next year, I think. Well, that basically wraps up all of today's stories, but as ever, this 3-day event has been full of incident and action. A look back now at some of the best from the first 2 days.
Kielder was never going to provide a gentle opener to the 3 days, but the harsh weather in the days before the start meant that snow and sheet ice were added to the delights awaiting the crews. Ari Vatanen, the 1981 world champion, was one of the first to fall foul of the infamous forest complex. Stage 1, Kirshop, and the right-hand front wheel is hanging off after thumping a rock. Then a close encounter with a Range Rover on a road section meant retirement number 1. 4 times world champion Juha Kankkunen was the pre-event favourite, but even he was finding the conditions almost impossible. He rolled into a ditch on stage 3 in Hindley Forest, and his alternator belt gave up the ghost, retirement number 2. The third Finn in the top 5 was Jarmo Kutaleito. In Kielder, he joined Kankkunen in the same ditch, and the escort's head gasket decided enough was enough. If we go on board with Armin Schwartz through Hindley, keep an eye on the left-hand side of this bend for firstly Kutaleito's car, then Kankkunen's Toyota. Schwartz himself was having no such problems. He was fastest through the very first stage of the rally and was setting some impressive times despite the snow. With his 3 main rivals out before lunchtime, he'd open up a 4-minute gap by the time the cars reached Leeds at the end of a fraught first day. But the drive of the day came from the relatively unknown Masao Kamioka, whose Subaru was storming through the snow. He was in second place behind Schwartz's Toyota at the end of the first leg and set the fastest time on 3 of the day's 9 stages. Stig Blomqvist on his 21st RAC was proving that a light car and less power was more than capable of beating the 4-wheel drive turbocharged monsters in the right conditions. He and Benny Melander were third arriving at Leeds and leading Formula 2 by a country mile. Mark Higgins in the Nissan ended the day in 10th place, although this incident cost around a minute. The ever-cheerful marshals and the few spectators at that junction soon had him on his way again, but little brother David decided to make that junction a family affair and did exactly the same thing, losing a similar amount of time. While Blomqvist led F2, the championship had already lost one of its star players. Jesus Puras made it as far as our cameraman on stage 1, but not much further. He didn't get out of Kirshop. All in all, it was a day the team would rather forget, with Harry Rovanperä now the team leader in 12th place. The McRae family success story on the RAC was about to come to a grinding halt. Alistair retired the VW after leaving the road on the longest stage of the rally, Pundershaw. For Martin Brundle, a cautious start to the rally. Then this happened. "54 minutes were lost in this ditch until Louise Aitken-Walker towed him out. Brundle ended day 1 of his first ever RAC in 90th place. The British crews were led by Gwyndaf Evans and Howard Davis, who were 5th overall in the 2-wheel drive Ford Escort RS2000 and 2nd in Formula 2 behind Blomqvist's Skoda. As the day wore on, conditions were steadily getting worse. In all, 48 cars retired, including Neil Dugan's Ford Escort after this happened on stage 4. With darkness came temperatures which plunged well below freezing, as Gregoire de Mavius discovered on stage 7 in Hampsterley Forest. He survived the spin and went on to finish the day in 7th place. Not so lucky was Ian Duncan. The Kenyan had never even seen snow before starting his preparations for the rally, so his 4th place was all the more remarkable. He retired in Hampsterley though, so 2 of the 3 Toyotas were out. That left Armin Schwartz, the sole surviving team member. He dominated the first leg, ending the last stage at Croft with a lead of 4 minutes and 12 seconds, and arrived at the overnight halt in Leeds poised to do exactly the same on day 2.
In comparison to Saturday, Sunday's 27 miles of action was more akin to a sprint. Yet even so, Armin Schwartz in the Toyota extended his lead to over 5 minutes from Japan's Masao Kamioka on his first drive in his X-Works Group A Subaru. But leading Britain, fifth-placed Gwyndaf Evans spectacularly crashed at a very slippery Chatsworth, the second stage of the day, putting the leading Briton out of the event.
Well, basically we had sort of flat right over jump, and I was in 4th or 5th gear, and it started understeering, and I could see a big wooden stump of tree in front of me. I just threw it sideways and kept the power on, but the ice got the better of me, and we hit the stump of the tree sideways on and rolled a couple of times. It's not so nice.
Thankfully today, Gwyndaf was released from hospital with only a stiff neck. Incredibly, just a few minutes later, the same accident was to befall Scotland's Robbie Head in the Renault Maxi Megane.
Complete ice on the approach to that corner, and the car just hit the ice, ran wide, and we hit the tree stump there, and it caused us to crash, basically.
Veteran Stig Blomqvist maintained his third overall. His relatively underpowered Skoda still no disadvantage in comparison to his 2-litre two-wheel drive competitors. Poland's leading driver, Krzysztof Holowicz, started the day in 4th place, but a navigational error cost him dearly and he was excluded at the end of the day. That moved Blomqvist's Czech teammate Pavel Sibera up to 4th place. The Skoda team in a strong position in this deciding round of the FIA's 2-litre World Rally Championship for mates. Their main competitor in Championship and Rally was Belgium's Grégoire de Mévius, flying the flag for Renault in the powerful Maxi Megane. But Seat was still very much in with a shout, with their new Finnish import Javi Rovanperä and former European champion Erwin Weber in the Ibizas, which could no doubt do with a bit of sun. After Evans and Head's troubles, Jeremy Eason took over as Britain's leading driver in a remarkable 6th place overall. But Mark Higgins was just behind in 7th and threatening to influence the Formula 2 title battle as they headed into Wales for day 3. Completing the top 10 was Nigel Worswick, who had a good day, picking up 6 places.
2 days of thrills and spills. Now a final chance for you to enter our Top Gear Rally Report competition. What we're offering you and a partner is a VIP trip to next year's Swedish International Rally. With snow-covered stages a certainty, it has to be one of the most scenic and spectacular rallies on the World Rally Championship calendar. All you have to do is to match up the following photographs of the 3 top British rally drivers, as they are now and when they were younger. Firstly, current British champion Gwyndaf Evans. Next, the 1995 World Rally champion Colin McRae. And completing our trio, former British champion Malcolm Wilson. So, which boy is number 1? And who is boy number 2? And you shouldn't have any problems identifying boy number 3. If you think you know then, here is the number to call. It's 0891 11 4488. The lines are open now and stay open until midnight on the 29th of November. We'll announce the lucky winner on Top Gear on December the 10th. Well, there you go, Sweden. Fair enough, it's not the lottery, but hey, you have a better chance of winning. Now that's almost all it's said and done. It's time for our funny finally. Some people would say that rally drivers are a rather dull and reticent lot, but our intrepid reporters are always on the spot to prove that is not the case. Here are the Network Q RAC Rally top 1996 quotes in reverse order. At 5, Mike Calvin, Ari Battinen's co-driver, on the warpath after the favourites finished in a ditch, avoiding a different kind of four-wheel drive.
I couldn't believe that Range Rover. I couldn't believe it. I hope he knows who he is, because I'd like to meet him again.
Maybe he wants to shake his hand. At 4, Will Clark on what it's like to be just off the pace.
Do you ever compare your times with Vattinen and Kenkinen? On a Sunday, yes.
Not so good for Paul Dyers at Chatsworth, hour number 3.
where the Arctic conditions weren't really conducive to fast driving.
It was hell in there. That stage was really bad. I mean, I actually got overtaken by 2 penguins on the summer holiday in there. That's how bad it is.
Chatsworth may have rewarded the cautious, but took no prisoners for those who dared. And number 2, Howard Davis.
I don't think there's much chance of us carrying on, really. Car's best part of really. Don't know if we can use that on TV.
And at number 1, Vince Whitten, on just how thrilling rally driving can be.
I haven't had so much fun since Cat died.
And Vince is not looking for sponsorship from the RSPCA. His quote, not mine. Has it been a good rally? I mean, did the RAC get the format right with it not being a World Championship event, Malcolm? Final words?
I think the format was right. I think it was very unfortunate about the weather. But I think really, looking longer ahead, I think it'd be advisable to probably bring the event forward a month, so as to avoid sort of the problems that we've had. Because I mean, you know, nobody really wants to lose the sort of top quality entry that we lost right so early on in the rally.
And we can't always rely on the weather to come up with the goods, can we?
Well, that's true. But as I say, I think if we could bring it forward a month, it would be beneficial.
OK, words for the future. Thanks very much for coming in today, and good luck next year. Well, what can we say? Just before my last good night, a few words I have to say. I've had a great time at the rally, being based in Chester for the last 4 days, but our many crews have been out in the cold and the snow watching even stage events unfold. They got the pitches back against all the odds, but their story, of course, will never be told. Armin's the man, winning all the way with Britain's Higgins and a fine 4th place on the day. We'll see you next year for the RAC Rally 1997. I wonder what driver will then be in 7th heaven. Good night.
Excuse me, you pulling the wife? I am actually. What are you saying? Who's going to get her up?
You know, they always wear the top fashion accessories, the top racing gloves. Have a look at Steph Dixon. These are the racing mitts the top racing drivers have. So, Mother, you're okay.
Watch it. Oh, how do we get out? Reverse. Keep it running. Reverse.